Okay, let's try that. See what happens. Oh my God. Sorry, this is a debut episode, so we're trying to work out the kinks.
No, it's still
No, there's still no sound?
no. Oh, that worked.
What?
Whatever we did.
The monitor only?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we start? Okay, well, why don't we start again? Are you sure it's working now?
Yes.
And I'm wondering if the levels are good. Okay, sorry about that. We had a little bit of technical issues. It's all new technology for us. So I'm thinking this is going to happen a lot on this episode.
Yep.
Should we scrap the episode and start it again? Because when we post it, people are going to tune out.
We can cut the first bit.
Okay. Well, thanks for everybody that came over from Nat and the Guy. And this is our debut episode, and we're already having technical issues. I have Nat off camera. She's going to be doing switching and some article reading. Why don't you say hi to the audience?
Hello again.
Okay. Why don't we get in this Jordan, Michael B. Jordan article here?
Yes. So Sinners, it doesn't stick to the rules. The reason Sinners has become a true box office sensation. So after great reviews and buzz, Ryan Coogler's vampire film had an extraordinary second weekend at the box office. It's a victory for a wholly original big budget film in a cinema landscape dominated by familiar franchises.
And I completely agree with this. And it's finally nice to see the mainstream media actually getting on with this movie. There was a lot of backlash from studios, so I think they were paying for bad press for this movie. But the fact that it hasn't had a drop off 3 weeks in a row, and it's somewhat of an independent film, it still has a major release, but it doesn't have the same kind of financial promotional backing other movies had, like Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is doing really poorly this weekend, so it's good to see this movie is doing good. And let me turn down the volume here. More technical issues. I am wanting to really see Sinners. I just haven't had a chance. We're trying to get 3 shows going a day. One with me right now called Live with the Guy. One tonight with Nat at 8 o'clock on our Spanish channel called Espanol, Nat and the Guy. And then we have a show together tonight at 9.
Yes.
So I've been completely full, and it's really hard to go make time to see a movie. But if I was going to see a movie, it would be Sinners. As soon as it comes on streaming, if I don't have a chance to see it in cinemas, I'm going to go watch it. Now we can move over to Thunderbolts. Why don't you bring up the article for that? I kind of link the two movies. This is like huge release, huge backing from the studio. This is supposed to be phase 6 of their Marvel releases. They released them in phases. This is the premiere summer release for Marvels, and it is not a good movie overall from what I'm hearing. It's doing a lot of cope, and it's only made 76 million. I predict it would make 70, so it made a little bit more than I thought, but I highly doubt it's going to make its money back. Why don't you read a little bit about this, and then I'll get into my thoughts.
So Disney's Thunderbolts rallies Marvel fans for a 76 million opening weekend. Marvel's Thunderbolts electrified the box office, beating expectations.
Hold on. That's completely not true.
I know.
And these articles are very often biased, but let's continue to hear their propaganda.
With 76 million in domestic sales this weekend, while not the massive opening weekend numbers that Marvel movies once posted, Thunderbolts beat expectations by about 8% and sets into motion a new chapter for Marvel, says Paul Dergarbardian, a senior analyst at ComScore.
Okay, and this movie is starring, how do I say her name? Florence Pugh?
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh, who's actually a pretty good actress, but they really don't need her in a Marvel's movie. I think she's best suited for her acting ability, which is much more high level than this. But, she probably does want the payday. A lot of the other actors and the whole script is not very well written. It's a big therapy session, but we'll see how it does overall. Do you have any thoughts on this movie?
No. Still gotta go watch it.
Okay. Well, on our night show, we have somebody named Rafa. He said he's going to go watch it for us because I'm unwilling to watch any more Marvel's movies at this point. They've completely killed the IP. Unless there's something really special that comes out, then I'll go and I'll let the audience know I'm going, but it would have to be something amazing. Disney is currently killing all of their IPs. They killed Star Wars. this was the golden child that it would have been extremely hard to kill, yet they did it. Now they've done it with all their Marvel's IPs, and they're starting to do it with their children's movies. When we seen, what was Snow White, we actually went to see in theaters. There's 3 people in the cinema on opening night. So what do we got next? Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Thunderbolts. It did make $76 million, which was way under expected, but it was released in 4,300 cinemas. So they managed to monopolize the number of cinemas. That's an extraordinary amount of high cinemas for a domestic box office release. So I was actually really surprised it made so little money. A lot of the movies that are out right now aren't in 3D or IMAX. This one was shot for both, so they were able to over-release in the number of cinemas that they had occupied. Okay, let's go into GTA 6, and I've talked a little bit about this on our other show. So why don't you go into it? It's been delayed again until May 2026. It was originally supposed to be released, I believe, this month or next month, and now it's been delayed a whole year. I'm sure they're going to give a bunch of propaganda on why, and then I'll get into the real reasons.
So Grand Theft Auto 6 release delayed to May 2026. Rockstar Games says it needs more time to deliver the quality you expect and deserve.
Okay, they're saying the quality we expect and deserve, which, okay, it kind of lines up with the real reasons. And the real reasons are they're trying to take wokeness out of this game. They can feel the culture's shifting, and rather than release it, they've delayed it a year, which overall I think it's a good idea if they can get the messaging and the propaganda out of this game. I don't know if they'll be able to. The rumor is they had put so much into it that they're having a really tough time taking all the propaganda and woke garbage out of this game. So we'll see what happens, but I expect this to be a major, major release for Rockstar Games. It is every time. And I was surprised the other night when I first started reporting on this. This entire series of the previous games that released made over $8 billion. We're not talking 800 million. We're talking $8 billion. This is a huge release, and it will dictate the future of Rockstar Games. So if they leave all this woke junk in and the game fails, that could be the end of Rockstar, or it will at least severely hurt them. So the fact that they're taking a year to really try to get the game right, or at least get it to a passing level where it's not going to hurt their brand, I think is a good idea overall. And in a game like Rockstar Games, you really want anti-woke stuff in. This is about violence. This is about weapons. This is about driving cars fast and women. So you want to pack it full with that typical kind of Americana, I would say, and make it a more traditional game. It's going to be really hard if they went away from that. So we'll see what happens with this. Do you have anything on? I know you don't play too many video games, but
no, I don't.
What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it could be a good opportunity for them to show and get rid of the whole, woke stuff.
Okay. I almost passed that story. So I got a clip for you in a minute with David Beckham. It's an older clip, but I thought it was good. Maybe we'll go into that now before we talk about Queen Latifah, because Queen Latifah isn't the most interesting news.
Sure.
Okay, this clip I'm going to bring up in just a second is from David Beckham's wife, who's just insufferable.
Victoria.
She's Victoria Beckham. She's kind of like Meghan Markle before there was Meghan Markle. And she's trying to say how she's middle class. This is absolutely ridiculous. And you have a ton of rich celebrities trying to claim they came from this middle class beginning. But I really have to hand it to David Beckham. He called his own wife out live on camera. So big props to him. Let's watch this now. Let's see if my audio is working. This is something else that could go wrong.
I just fancied him, and it was as simple as that. Yeah, I mean, I think also we both come from families that work really hard. Both of our parents work really hard. We're very working class.
Be honest.
I am being honest. I am being honest.
What car did your dad drive you to school in?
So my dad did.
No, one answer.
My dad.
What car was it?
All right, it's not a simple answer
what
because.
What did you get your dad to drive?
It depends.
No.
Okay,
What
in the
car?
80s, my dad had a Rolls Royce.
Oh my God.
I just fancied him.
Okay.
It was a simple.
I'm not a big soccer fan. I've never been a really big fan of David Beckham. I know who he is in passing because he's obviously extremely famous, but I have to admit I like him a lot more after this clip. This is a much older clip. It just came to my awareness, so I thought I would bring it up. And I think it would be much more appreciated if male stars did start calling out their wives. It's much like Meghan Markle needs to be called out, and she needs to be put in check by Harry, because she's not only ruining their reputation, she's ruining a lot of other people's reputations. Okay, let's go into Queen Latifah here. And go back to my last camera for a minute. I'm a little bit off-centered here. Okay, I'll fix it after the show. I'm trying to look at all the different technical things and fix it. Okay, let's go into Queen Latifah now.
So The Equalizer canceled at CBS after 5 seasons. The drama starring Queen Latifah was the last show at the network whose future remains in limbo.
Okay, so this was an absolute joke of a show. I think it had 4 or 5 seasons. I'm not sure if it was 4 or 5, but it was a lot. I didn't even know this was a show. I did know the movie with Denzel Washington. I am a big Denzel Washington fan. This show goes by the same name. They say it has nothing to do with it, but in a lot of plot points, it actually does. And the fact that Denzel Washington was a black male actor, it almost feels like they gender swapped him for Queen Latifah, who can't do a kick above her waist. And this is no joke. I was watching some of the kind of trailers over the last few seasons for this movie because I knew I was going to talk about this article today. And Queen Latifah fighting off bad guys, ass kicking, just looks ridiculous. And then she's trying to play a single mom, it looked like, in it. And she's just this fat, overweight black chick that's kicking ass and taking names. It didn't make sense to me. At least get somebody that's in shape enough that I can believe that she's actually going to kick ass. And for a woman to be kicking a bunch of dudes' asses that are like in great shape on the trailer, it was completely unbelievable. I'm so glad I didn't watch this show. It doesn't need another season. I wouldn't mind seeing another Equalizer from Denzel Washington. Anything with Denzel Washington, I'm kind of willing to watch. I will admit Denzel Washington's son is not the best actor, but he does have the pickings of any movie he wants to do because of his dad. But he's really a one-trick pony. He has no emotion. He just has that blah face where nothing's going on, so he doesn't have any ranges in his acting like his father did. So I just wanted to mention this because I thought this was just absolutely ridiculous how they keep trying to make women action heroes, tough action heroes with no flaws. There's no real character arc, and it's completely unbelievable. When we get these woke writers out of these writer rooms, we might be able to get back to real cinema or real TV and real script writing. So do you have anything? Do you even know who Queen Latifah is?
Yes.
I know you're a lot younger than I am.
No, I'm not that yet.
Okay, who's Queen Latifah?
She was in a bunch of stuff.
Like what?
Wasn't she? Well, no, that was Whoopi. I was going to say Sister Act. No, she was in Sister Act.
She may have been in Sister Act as well. Well, I just saw the younger generation. I'm just thinking they might not completely know who she was. She was actually a female rapper decades and decades ago. That's kind of how she came up, and she transitioned into acting and things like that as she got older, but she's just not believable in an action hero role at all.
No.
Okay, let's go. No. Okay, let's go into did you get an article on this? Because you told me right before we went on air, Donald Trump wants to reopen Alcatraz.
Let me try to find one. I'll go to you. Yes, I did.
Oh, good. Okay, why don't you read a little bit of this article and then I'll talk about it. I actually thought this was a great idea. And you thought they were trolling the Democrats, but...
I think they might be, but yes. Trump orders reopening of a notorious Alcatraz prison. Donald Trump says he is directing his government to reopen and expand Alcatraz, the infamous former prison on an island near San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. In a message on his Truth Social site on Sunday, President Trump said that for too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders. The reopening of Alcatraz, once notorious as one of the U.S. toughest prisons, would serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice, he said.
And that's exactly kind of what I was thinking. Alcatraz used to be the most notorious prison. It was called Impossible to Escape. Obviously, some people escape from there eventually, but it's really a symbol of law and order, and they're trying to get that back in the United States right now. If they were to remodel or maybe even tear down Alcatraz and just completely rebuild it, I almost think that's what you're going to have to do. That thing is just decaying at this point, and people will try to tunnel through the walls and anything else. So I think if they do keep it, they're going to have to completely demolish it and then completely revamp it. I don't know if it would be necessarily a high security prison. Maybe a low security prison would be better. I don't know, but it's iconic because it's in the middle of San Francisco Bay. And as we know, San Francisco is completely lawless right now. Crime is absolutely rampant. They don't bust anybody, even if, as long as they steal under $1,000 worth of goods, it's okay. So reopening Alcatraz, and it makes headlines. So this really lets people know that they're serious about law and order again. Again, he's expanding law enforcement in the States. They're tough on crime. So I think bringing back Alcatraz is good, and it's bringing back a traditional symbol of America and American prisons and things like that. So I think it would be a great idea. What was your idea on this, actually?
I just think he's saying it to troll Democrats. I don't actually think they'll go up and reopen it. Maybe they'll start building new ones, but the whole prison system in the U.S. is completely broken. So,
well, yeah, it's completely broken, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, it's completely privatized, and it's almost become this, like, as much as I am for law and order, I also got to say, the prison system is completely broken and it's privatized. So it's become this way for these prisons to make money, and a lot of these prison stocks are on the stock exchange and things like this, and they're liable to their investors. So I don't know. I really think the prison system in the United States needs to be changed, and it needs to focus on rehabilitation. I do like what they're doing in El Salvador. I was really surprised in El Salvador. I mean, they were really tough on crime. They locked up all the MS-13 members and a lot of other gang members. But I recently watched a documentary, and now they're entering phase 2. They're not just planning on keeping these people locked up forever. They're really focused on rehabilitation, giving them welding skills, giving them real construction skills and things like that. So if they are ever to get out, they can integrate back into society as well with these licensed kind of skill sets like construction and stuff like that. They have job placement programs when they do get out. So it really does give them hope when they do get out. So we'll see what happens. But the U.S. really needs to rethink their prison system. I think they lock up more than any other nation in the world at this point. Okay. And the next thing is Mark Carney. I hope you were able to get something on this because I forgot to download the clip of him saying it.
not fully, but this is just like an article with Mark Carney on it.
Oh, it is. Okay. So I should have downloaded the clip, but there is a clip of Mark Carney saying all vehicles manufactured before 2000 will be gradually phased out on Canadian roads starting June 1st, 2025. If you have rear tint in your window, or if you have a lifted or raised trucks, you have a 14-day grace period to take the tent out and to unraise the truck. So he's starting to become an authoritarian on stupid little petty laws. Like, just let the people do what they want a little bit. This is crazy. And I kind of put this article in here to talk about Mark Carney's bigger strategy. Green energy is now failing. China's not doing it. The United States is not doing it. Russia's not doing it. Some of the biggest countries in the world are no longer doing it. So when a little country like Canada keeps on keeping on with their carbon tax and things like this, it makes no difference. If you don't have the buy-in from the big countries, he's only handicapping Canada. And we're going to get into Alberta separation in a minute, but I'm going to stick on these vehicles and what Mark Carney's big plan is. By, I think it's 2035 in Canada, all Canadian vehicles are expected to be electric, which is absolutely ridiculous. If you know anything about electric cars in cold weather conditions, they do not work properly. There's not the charging infrastructure in Canada. Even if they had the charging infrastructure in Canada, if everybody had an electric car, it would car, it would completely shut down the grid. It's a complete bad idea. Next year is the first year Canada is going to implement a taxes on gas-powered vehicles. So they're going to allow a minimum gas-powered vehicles to be sold in Canada. Once that minimal amount is hit, they're going to charge a $20,000 tax on every gas-powered vehicle sold after that. That means nobody's going to buy a gas-powered vehicle, which is crazy because in Canada, which I'm originally from, I now live in Mexico City, electric vehicles just don't work. I lived in downtown Vancouver, and that's the second biggest city, and it's a small city, so they should have the infrastructure there for electric vehicles, but they just don't. The electric charging stations are few and far between, and if anybody knows downtown Vancouver, it's almost all high rises. And the parking for these high rise buildings are usually underneath the high rise. It goes about 6 stories down. It's very hard to install electrical chargers in underground parking lots because they're completely made of concrete. So only on the first level will you have 1 or 2 charging stations. If you're an actual resident of the building, usually your parking is further down and there are absolutely no charging stations down there, and it's almost impossible to install them down there. So Mark Carney, with his green energy plan, I think he's planning to collapse Canada. And if Alberta starts peeling off along with these other provinces, I think Donald Trump is going to take full advantage of this. Okay. Oh, maybe before we move on, do you have any thoughts about this? No, she's saying no.
No.
Okay. When you talk, it gives me a chance to drink water and
Okay,
stuff.
sorry.
Okay, going to the next article, which is going to be, it's Canada as well, I believe. Do you have it?
Which one?
It's the one with Daniel Smith.
Oh, yes. The clip?
Yeah. Before we go into that article, maybe just leave it here. I'll talk a little bit about Canadian separation. So Donald Trump has talked about making Canada the 51st state. Nobody took him seriously. He was kind of trolling at the time, but now it's actually starting to become a reality. Not of making all of Canada the 51st state, because America does not want all of Canada. That would flood America with massive amounts of liberal voters, which the conservatives would have a tough time winning any election after that. The day after the election, the MP of Alberta lowered the standards for Alberta's separation, so Alberta could possibly become independent or join the United States. Canada is one of the only countries in the world that has set the previous precedent with their kind of Supreme Court. When Quebec wanted to separate in the 80s, they ruled that anytime any province wanted to separate, they had to get a certain amount of signatures from the population, and then they would take a vote on it. If the people voted more than 50% to separate from Canada, that individual province could then separate. We're now in a situation where Alberta is on the verge of separation. And the day after the election, they lowered the standards. 2 days after that, they already had 100,000 signatures. They only need 120,000 signatures to trigger this referendum. I'm explaining it okay, but I do have another clip. Maybe we'll play that one. It's not the Daniel Smith one. It's the other clip. Yep, the small one underneath. Yeah. So this was before the election, and they were already planning to do this if the Liberals won the election. Even though the clip's a little bit older, this guy explains it really well, and he's one of the people leading the charge. He's a lawyer within Alberta. Okay, let's play the clip. Okay, let's play the clip. And sorry, the imagery is very small, but it's mainly the audio I want to get for this thing. It's very quiet.
Is leading that group, a lawyer from Alberta. He has that delegation behind him. Jeff, how big is your delegation? Tell me the feeling you are
all the way up.
Joining America.
Hundreds of Albertans that are reaching out and volunteering to join our delegation. Right now, our group is very small. We're, it's a steering committee of people that are looking to come to Washington on an exploratory basis. and meet with a representative appointed by President Trump to explore the benefits of either Alberta becoming an independent sovereign nation with economic union to the United States, becoming a U.S. territory, or pursuing full statehood.
Well, how is
those
Canada,
are our goals.
God, how has Canada
What's
lost
that?
their way? How has Canada lost their way to make you think you got to join us?
Okay, pause it for a sec. Okay, and if you don't know anything about Canada, let's just talk about this for a minute. Alberta is the doormat of Canada, and they treated it extremely wrong for well over a decade now. Alberta is the Texas of Canada, and all the oil and natural gas comes out of there, but they're legislating oil and natural gas out of existence in Canada. So it's really hurting Alberta's bottom line. But number two, all those billions and hundreds of billions of dollars that come out of Alberta is taken from Alberta and redistributed to the East Coast provinces, kind of so Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada, can buy the voters in those districts, and Alberta's given nothing in return. Also, the maritime provinces in Canada have 2.2 million citizens, while Alberta has 4.4 million citizens, yet they have the same amount of seats in Parliament, meaning they're intentionally disenfranchising Albertans' vote. So let's continue with this.
Trudeau and Carney, are all wringing their hands over the tariffs. They're going to be kicking Albertans in the teeth and bringing in a 21% carbon tax increase in April. This is, the carbon tax itself is just an insult to hardworking Albertans that can't afford to heat their homes and can't afford diesel and gas for their cars and trucks to go to work. That's a big part of why it is that people in Alberta are fed up with being governed by idiotic politicians from Quebec and Ontario that do not understand our province and do not understand that culturally we're far more closely affiliated.
Pause it again. And of all the provinces in Canada, Alberta is completely blue. It's completely conservative. It's the one province that will really have a chance, if this is put it to a vote, to actually separate. Now, in my opinion, I think the longer the vote is away, the better chance Alberta actually has to separate. If they do this vote really quick, liberal nationalism within Canada is extremely high right now. They've kind of manipulated the situation where they hated nationalism, but for this election, they ran against Trump and they promoted this liberal nationalist ideal. And so because nationalism is high, they may not get the vote. But the longer it takes, I think Carney's going to begin to fail, and his carbon tax and his green policies are really going to hurt Canada and put it in a financial bind. If that situation comes up and then Alberta takes a vote, I think it's going to be an easy separation vote. If we go a little bit further into this, it's not just Alberta that's talking separation right now. Saskatchewan is currently getting the paperwork ready, which is the province right next to Alberta. And also BC is starting to put their paperwork together. Now, I don't know if BC would be able to separate, but that would be almost the entire west coast of Canada. I would love to see them separate just because the way they've been treated in the past by the Canadian government. Okay, let's go into Danielle Smith's audio recording now. Don't play it quite yet. I want to set this audio recording up. So the Canadian government does not know what to do right now. They know if Albertans vote, there's a good chance they may separate. They're trying to say these are white nationalists trying to separate and everything else. That's not the case. These are just Canadian citizens that are tired of being mistreated, number one. But number two, the Canadian government's second strategy is to say, there's massive native land within Alberta. You can't just join the United States or separate. We have treaties with these native tribes. So let's hear Danielle Smith's response to this. One sec. Danielle Smith is the MP, the politician that basically controls Alberta.
Indigenous leaders are warning that the new referendum bill violates treaty rights. So how do you reconcile those two approaches, and what message does this send to Ottawa?
I 100% respect treaty rights. Every piece of legislation that we do is in honor of Section 35 of the Act, of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Everything that I do is changing Alberta's relationship with Ottawa. The First Nations have their own relationship with Ottawa, and it's enshrined in treaty. That does not change. However, I can't prejudge what referendum decisions or petitions might come forward. Right now, there's zero referendum petitions. There's zero petitions at all for Citizens Initiative. All there is a law that's been on the books for 6 years now that had a very high threshold that was
Okay, you can pause that. I think we're good on that clip. Okay, and now so she's saying Alberta is separate, has a separate relationship to the Canadian government than the First Nations do. So what happens now is if they are able to get the 120,000 signatures needed to trigger this vote, they will vote on it. If the vote passes with more than 50%, what's going to happen is all parties have to come to the table and they're going to be forced to negotiate who keeps what and things like this. So it's going to be very interesting if Alberta is able to separate. I think Alberta will be the first domino. If they fall and they separate, I think Saskatchewan and BC very well might separate. If Alberta is not able to have this separatist movement, I don't think any of these other provinces will be able to separate as well. Okay, let's go into the next article here, and it's the Australian elections. Why don't you read a little bit of this? And again, this is going to be propaganda, probably coming from liberal news. I'm going to give my take on it, but I like to see what the liberals are saying.
Austria or Australia?
Australia.
Oh, hold on then.
Okay, I'll talk about a little bit when she gets the article. What happened with the Australian election? Oh, she's got it right here. So Australia had some elections recently, right after Canada did. Canada had their elections and the Liberals were able to squeak by with a victory, which it looks like they're going to be able to make a coalition government to have a majority and push through whatever they want. But they ran a strategy of not running against the opposition, but running against Trump and the United States and saying, we're liberals, we're nationalists, which has never been the case for any liberals. Everybody knows liberals are globalists, at least in the past couple of decades. Australia did the exact same strategy and they were able to win in a landslide. So this liberal nationalist strategy is really working for these globalists. Let's read a little bit.
Australia Prime Minister Albanese makes stunning comeback with landslide win. Labour's Anthony Albanese has defied so-called incumbency cores to be re-elected Australia's Prime Minister in a landslide. Official vote counting won't finish for days, but Albanese's centre-left government will dramatically increase its majority after the Conservative Liberal National Coalition suffered a thumping defeat nationwide.
Okay, so this is good. So now we start having this this liberal globalist coalition coming back from the dead. Once Trump got elected, he really took the breath out of the globalists, defunding USAID, going directly after globalists in the EU and worldwide. But with the election of Mark Carney, it gave them life. And now with the election in Australia, it gave them some more life. And we see what is happening in the EU with these globalists. They're using the EU framework and structure to say the EU government's in charge, not the individual presidents and prime ministers of the individual states like Hungary, like Italy and things like that. We've seen what happened in France with Marine Le Pen. They disqualified her and had some trumped up charges so she wouldn't be able to run in the next election. They disqualified Conor McGregor and brought him to court in Ireland. They don't even want him running for mayor, let alone president like he was planning. We've seen what happened in Romania with Georgescu. He won that election. They canceled the election after he won and then disqualified him from running in another election. And now finally we've seen what happened in Germany with the AfD. They're being labeled a far-right radicalist organization and they're attempting to disqualify them from running in the future. They've now passed laws within Germany, brand new laws that will permit the spy agencies to literally spy on opposition party of the AfD. So this is absolutely crazy what's going on in the EU. They're using authoritarian control to try to keep this globalist network alive. And now that they got Canada and Australia back, they got a little bit of wind in their sails. What I'm hoping happens, because without any opposition, Trump is doing a lot of things, and the media can frame it however they want, and they can really say what a bad job Trump is doing. In reality, he's doing some things bad, some things good. It's not like what the media is saying with the tariffs and everything else. But now that you have Mark Carney in power in Canada, it's going to be very interesting. If that economy falls off a cliff because Alberta separates or any other reason, it's going to make Trump look really good. It's going to make conservative policies have something to contrast it with, which are liberal policies in Canada and in Australia. So if Canada and Australia fail and the United States succeeds, it's going to be really easy to elect another conservative party in the United States. Now, the economy in Canada is really fragile right now, and the same in Australia. Australia is in a really bad situation. They're put between China and the U.S., and it looks like they're going to have to make a decision. So it's going to be very interesting what happens. But did you have any articles on those?
On Germany?
Yeah, let's talk about the German one, the AfD.
Sure.
So if you don't know the AfD, they call them far right. They're really center right. They're not so radical. Let's read a little bit about it.
So incoming German Interior Minister skeptical about a ban on far-right AfD. Incoming German Interior Minister Alexander Dobrindt suggested on Sunday it was unlikely the far-right Alternative for Germany, AfD, party would be banned after the spy agency classified it as extremist last week. German lawmakers have been discussing outlawing the party and taking other measures, including dismissing civil servants who are members of the AfD and limiting or halting public funding.
Okay, did you have anything about this? Because you were talking about this story the other day as well. Still nothing about it.
Oh, me myself? I thought.
Yeah, you yourself.
It's another tactic, the same as they've been using for all the other ones.
Yeah, and I mean, J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Trump, and other high-ranking officials in the United States have come back out against this. I think I actually wrote down what Marco Rubio said. Marco Rubio said that Germany just gave spy agency new powers to spy on opposition party. That's not democracy. That's tyranny in disguise. J.D. Vance wasn't any nicer about it, and neither was Trump. This is absolutely crazy. And behind the scenes, Trump is really going after the EU and the globalists because he knows that's his main opposition right now. If he can't deal with them first, he's not going to be able to deal with China or Russia or anybody else. So we'll see what happens in the future with this. Okay, let's go into the next story here. And you know what? Let's do the clip of the prayer. And before we play it, let me talk about it a little bit. Because this happened at a school board meeting in the United States. And a lot of the school board, the teachers union and these school boards are completely captured. Now, somebody suggested that they had a prayer before the meeting, which I don't mind the idea. I don't like the fact that if you do let the Christian prayer or Catholic prayer in a school board meeting or a sitting like that, then the Muslims are going to want their prayers and the Satanists are going to want their prayers and everybody's going to be asking for it. So maybe it's better to keep it out, or let's just see the clip and see what happens. I think she went a little overboard, and it's going to be hard for her to run for re-election after going so hard at opposing prayer before the meeting. I think she should have just said she's against it. She went above and beyond that.
I respectfully make a motion to include an invocation to our agenda and meetings moving forward. How much prayer do you need? How much God do you need?
Turn it down a little slightly.
We say under God. We say it. Why do we need to say more? Everyone who's sitting here still now are professionals. They come to work to dedicate their lives to children. They didn't come here to pray with you. If you want to pray with them, take them to church. You want to be evangelical and do that, go for it. But not on my time, not on their time, and not in this community's time. We're not in this business. This is not the time or the place. I don't know why you need prayer to take this job seriously. If that's your argument, that we won't be solemn enough, we won't take this seriously. What have you been doing for the last 6 months? Huh? Why do you need this? So again, what How is this good for kids? How is this good for our school district? How is this being a good steward of taxpayer dollars?
Okay.
It's not.
Okay, that's it of that clip. Now, I think she went a little overboard and it was a little ridiculous. I would not vote for her if they had how to vote. She didn't need to say all that. She could say she's against prayer. It's against her religious beliefs. But she did ask, why are people asking for prayer specifically before a school board meeting? And it's obvious. There is no moral standard guiding these people. They're public officials that are lacking morals. They're allowing CDC into schools in the United States to try to take parental rights away so they can vaccinate children behind their parents' backs. On top of that, they want to be able to refer them to school counselors so they can prescribe medications and things like this. What they were trying to get in under the Biden administration was absolutely crazy. And this is why they want to bring prayer into school so there can be a non-moving moral foundation. So you don't confuse these kids and say so you can actually say boys are boys and girls rather than, oh, you can be whatever you want one day and another day. Kids are already confused at that age. They need a strong foundation. So bringing a prayer into a school board meeting maybe isn't the worst thing, but I do see the point of having a separation of church and state. I just don't think she should have said it in the way that she did. There's a reason that people want moral values brought back into school, and it's because the executives and the people that are running these schools, that are running these unions, really have lost their moral compass, and it's affecting the children now. Okay, let's go into the next one, and this is a clip about somebody that's no longer talking to their parents because their parents voted for Trump, which is absolutely ridiculous. I love the parents' response, at least in the letter as she stated it. This is a lot of liberal lunatics. Let's play the clip if you got it. She just looks crazy.
I
Turn it up.
went no contact with my parents 2 weeks before the election because they voted. I found out that they voted for Trump for a third time. They came by the other day because they wanted to see me, and I told them I didn't want to see them. So they left a card in the door, and it's some God's love bullshit card, you know.
Pause it. It's some God's love bullshit card. I guarantee there's nobody in this world that's going to love this woman like her parents are going to love her unconditionally. Even when she wants to give hate to her parents, they're giving her a card. They're telling her how they feel. They're telling her they're still going to be there for her. She's probably in a thought bubble right now of some liberal woke lunatics that are telling her family is against her and she needs to change her family or whatever they're telling her, but her family's not telling her the same thing about her lunatic friends. Okay, let's continue this.
And I thought maybe they'd write something of substance. And they wrote, "And you can keep pushing us away, but we will always be your mom and dad, and we will love you until we die. Love, Mom and Dad." Is that supposed to make me feel better?
Well, it should.
I don't care, guys. I just want you to say that you're Nazis now.
Pause it. And she just wants her parents to say that they're the N-word now, which is absolutely insane. They voted a different way than you. I'm sure they can logically articulate why they voted that way. Just because you don't like the way they voted doesn't mean you should stop talking to your parents. I guarantee you, when this girl needs something, she's going to go crying to her parents, and her parents are going to be there for her. Okay, let's continue.
Drives me absolutely crazy that my parents will do anything but admit that they were wrong in voting for Trump. Not once, but 3 times. That's all I've literally asked of them. And they can't do that. They do everything, like send me weird passive-aggressive Christian cards, but say, "I'm so sorry that I voted to take away your rights as a woman, as a queer person, and as a federal employee." So that's crazy. I'm so tired of being gaslit by my parents. I fucking hate this administration. They have destroyed everything in my life, including my relationship.
Wait, pause it. Just because she doesn't like this administration, and I understand she's a government worker, so she maybe it affects her a little bit more, but she should not be sacrificing her relationship with her parents because she disagrees with the way that she votes. And she says they're unable to admit that they were wrong in the way that they voted. They obviously don't think they were wrong because, as she said, they voted for him 3 times. So he's attempting to clean up the government. Some people agree with that. If you watch any interviews with Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats back in the 90s, they were saying a lot of the same things. A matter of fact, as recently as Barack Obama, he was suggesting making a similar organization to what Doge is. The fact that Republicans are the one cleaning up the government, it's making liberals go insane because they know the moderates, if the Republicans are successful, will permanently switch sides, and it will be very hard to win an election again. There was one more thing I wanted to say about Canada before we completely move on here, and it's they've completely shut off immigration in the United States from the southern border, and they're attempting to deport a lot of illegal criminal immigrants and things like this in the States. Everybody knows the United States is going to need, if they want to bring manufacturing back, more population. They're unable to replicate more than 2 children per household. So it's going to be very interesting if Alberta does separate and Saskatchewan do separate. All those people are going to be given citizenship into the United States. That's going to be millions of conservative voters on the voter rolls. So I remember the Democrats were attempting to flood the United States with immigrant voters from Mexico and other places. It kind of backfired because a lot of Mexicans are actually conservative in nature and they don't agree with all this woke nonsense that's been brought in. They know a man's a man and a woman's a woman, and this non-binary crap is not going to fly with them. That's why Trump was able to win there. But if all these conservative voters do come in from Canada, it's going to be very interesting what happens. Okay, that's enough on Canada today, but we'll go to the next one, and that is, let's go to Ilhan Omar. And if you don't know who Ilhan Omar is, she's a congresswoman from the United States. She is a congresswoman in the largest Muslim district in the United States. I believe it's in Michigan. But she's always saying crazy things. And this is just another thing that's absolutely crazy because the statistics do not bear it out. Okay, let's play the clip.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization.
Okay, that's good. What I was going to say here is she wants to make policies that monitor and track white men because they're dangerous. First of all, having a specific policy on one race or group of people, I don't think is the way to go. This creates division, and that's why this identity politics in the States is becoming so divisive in the States. And this was why Trump was able to unify a large group of people under a similar umbrella, because he's making the same rights and laws for all people, not just one group of people. We don't want to advantage or disadvantage a single group of people. We want to have meritocracy where everybody has an equal opportunity. Okay, I only have a few more stories. I wanted to try to end it before 12 here. Let's go into Mexican President Sheinbaum. Oh, why don't you read a little bit of this before I give my thoughts on it?
So Mexico's president says she rejected Trump's plan to send U.S. troops across the border. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Saturday that U.S. President Donald Trump proposed sending American troops into Mexico to help her administration fight off drug trafficking, but that she rejected it. Her remarks to supporters in eastern Mexico came in response to a Wall Street Journal article published the day before, describing a tense phone call last month in which Trump reportedly pressured her to accept a big role for the U.S. military in combating drug cartels in Mexico. He said, "How can we help you fight drug trafficking? I suppose the United States military come in and help you." And you know what I said to him? No, President Trump.
Okay, so this was an ongoing situation. They actually had secret phone calls and meetings where he was suggesting this, and now this is becoming public. But it's very interesting because she's saying, no, you can't bring the military in, but yes, you can bring intelligence figures in to help our military and our people fight organized organizations. Now, that being said, why is she saying this? She obviously doesn't want to stop these organized criminal organizations, but her party is very much attached to a lot of these organizations. So if she can use intelligence to kind of consolidate and get rid of some of these organized crime syndicates, then she will consolidate powers with the remaining ones. So it's going to be very interesting to keep an eye on what happens here. There's also going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing in the back room here. I fully expect what's actually going on with these negotiations aren't fully being put in the headlines. She's Claudia Sheinbaum's trying to posture just as well as Trump's trying to posture, but Mexico is a huge piece of the North American pole, and Trump knows that. If they want to use it as a manufacturing base, they have to do something about these organized crime syndicates and things like that, because they have to be able to build manufacturing plants here and be able to bring goods back and forth between the United States and other places. Okay, let's go back, and I see we missed the article about the UK. So the UK also had elections. It wasn't their really big elections, but it was a by-election, I believe. And Reform UK absolutely annihilated the other parties in this. And this is fantastic news. Canada and Australia may have went Liberal, but it looks like the UK is starting to fight back. The amount of protests in the streets, not in just the UK, but in Ireland as well, and all across really the EU. And the fact that people are actually voting Reform UK. And the main reason they're voting Reform UK is the level of immigration going into that country. They cannot even support their own citizens within that country anymore. The fact that they're bringing in more and more immigrants from countries that really don't mix well with the local populations or the local customs or moral beliefs is really causing strife within not just the UK, but the rest of the EU. So this is a very good sign. And I've said this before, but on the other channel, but I'll say it here. The United States was very lucky with the kind of immigration it had over the past decades. It was primarily from Mexico and South America, who really practiced Catholicism, Christian beliefs, and things like this. So they had a basic moral foundation that they were able to integrate into American society very well. When we're looking at the UK and the EU, you're having primarily Islamic immigration, which causes all kinds of strife. The moral foundation is very much different than Christian foundations and what the UK was based upon. You're having grape gangs and other things like this within the UK uprising. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on, but the UK at least is headed in the right direction, but their political system is completely captured. So I don't know what's going to happen in the end there, but I will keep an eye on it. And for the last story, I don't know if we can talk about it here. It was the RFK story. Maybe I'm going to leave it for tonight on our show, Nat and the Guy, live. It's going to be on this channel at 9:15 tonight. It's going to be me and Nat.
9:15 Mexico City time.
9:15 Mexico City time. It will go a lot more smooth than the show I had on my own. This is my first time really being by myself, and I'm using a lot of new technology. I was trying to kind of learn a bunch of things as we're doing this. So it will get better as I go along, but we're really have all the kinks worked out on our night show, which used to be on Nat and the Guy Espanol. If you do speak Spanish and you want to see Nat in Spanish, her show will be on at 8 o'clock tonight on Nat and the Guy Espanol. That's the name of the channel. And thanks for tuning in. Adios.